How's it going, everyone? Welcome back. Hope everyone's having a lovely day. So, good news, good day to say the least to be a Bengals fan. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins going to be part of this Cincinnati Bengals offense for the next 4 seasons. And as we know, as long as Joe's healthy, as long as T's here, as long as Jamar's here, this football team will go into every season a threat to win the Super Bowl. Not a threat to make the playoffs, a threat to make the Super Bowl. Period. When you have an offense of that caliber, you go in every single season with that potential. What gets you to that Super Bowl is the other side of the football, though. The defensive side of the football. And at the end of the day, these contracts are great. They're fantastic, but they didn't do anything. I'm sorry to tell you. The cold hard truth is, though, that these contract extensions did absolutely nothing for the Cincinnati Bengals to win a Super Bowl in 2025. It did nothing for 2024, nothing for 2025. These guys have been on this roster for multiple years now. We know what they can do on this roster, and we know they can, or there's a great reason they're here. Don't get me wrong. I'm happy they're on this team if they can make it work. But if they want to go further than that, it all comes down to the defensive side of the football. The defensive side of the football that has seen TJ Slayton, and that's it. I mean, they brought Orrin over from Philadelphia. They kept slide him in as a starter. Looks like he might be, but that's it. That's all they've done to improve the defense. And that's where you start to question, is the cap space there? They still have some. Are you putting too much money into these guys? Do they want to go after guys on defense? Here's the interesting thing. I think the Bengals can close free agency out by getting a guard. And this is what I would personally want. I know people I hear it a lot. They're like, oh, backload the contract, make it a back, push the cap toward the last year. It's like, there's dudes with $60-70 million doing their last year. I don't know how I feel about that. I know the cap goes up, 15-20 million a year, 10-20 million or whatever it is. That's fantastic. That's great. But if I got 10 million in cap space this year, I sure would like to restructure Joe's contract and front load that bad boy as much as I can, because use up every penny you have this year, minus whatever you can carry over, I guess. But, use up what you have now. That way, when 4 years down the road comes, Joe Burrow's, sure, he could be getting 60 million a year on that cap, or he's getting 40. And now you have your studs all under contract. You got $20 million extra to spend in free agency, right? To me, that makes more sense. But, everybody goes, most teams go about it the other way. So what do I know? What do I know, right? They're like, well, let's worry about that. And I get it. It's like, that's a down the road problem. We don't know how good we're going to be or how bad we're going to be, what situation we'll be in. We know what situation we're in right now. But that's kind of the thing, though, with the Bengals. The situation they're in right now. There's not a lot of starting caliber free agents left. They was worried about getting these deals done. So there's not a lot of guys that's going to be, pulling in 15-20 million a year that's left to say, hey, maybe they can figure something out to get some of this cap pushed forward. So for next year, the year after that, it's better. That being said, that's the problem they're at right now. There isn't really a lot of starting caliber defensive players left. A lot of them signed. And honestly, I'm pretty happy with it. It's risky. It's dangerous. Kind of scary a little bit. But what the Bengals are doing is exactly what the Bengals need to do. As crazy as that sounds. You cannot continue to pay veteran after veteran on defense and just hope that works out. There's no sustainability to it. That was the Lou Anarumo way. Lou Anarumo wanted to bring in all these veterans every single season. It brought him comfort to sign Von Bell after another team released him. It's like, bring him back in. It brought him comfort. It's like, hey, let's bury this guy and bring in this guy. The problem was Lou was never a pro youth player, coach. Good coach, good schematic coach for the most part. End of the season, he had his teams playing well, but he was never this grow and develop the young players. There's no really debate about it. Look at the team. There's nobody they've had to sign in the Lou era, Logan Wilson, I guess, that really garnered a lot of money because of him. And now you bring in, again, I can't say enough. Appreciate what Lou Anarumo did this team. For him to go in there and be competitive against the best of the best, that's the best you could ask for, and he did that year in and year out with Patrick Mahomes. But now Al Golden comes in, a guy that brought a pro style of offense, praised the tackling, praised the technique, the little things, the communication to a college football team, got the most out of young players in college football. It wasn't like, let's be stuck in our ways. We're going to try to get the best out of this player by using him this way, best out of this player, use him this way. Consistently dialing up blitz packages, man coverage. completely different style of coaching from Lou Anarumo. And I think you look at that and say, that's perfect. Al Golden is the biggest addition to this Bengals team this offseason without question. Because what you look at and say, hey, are Myles Murphy, or is DJ Reader, Dax Hill, Jordan, are those bad football players, or have we just not seen them propelled to their, I don't know why we made a Y, propelled, whatever. We just not seen them reach their full potential. Because we know they've been buried. We knew Jordan Battle, for whatever reason, that he wasn't given the opportunity to start last season. There was zero reason. After the rookie year he had, after the draft capital put on him, there was zero reason he shouldn't have been playing. You could say the same thing about Dax Hill. Now, I understand, his situation a little different with Dax Hill, but these guys should have been playing, and playing a lot. Joseph Asai, same story, should have been playing a lot their early years. Give these guys an opportunity. The good football teams draft players. They start. It's scary. The good football coaches, I should say, the good defensive coordinators, they draft the rookies. They're starting the second-year players. They have a lot of those guys playing. Sure, the Eagles had some studs on that team, but they had a lot of young players on that defense. The Chiefs did the same year before, where they kind of gutted everybody, had all these young players, all these rookies playing in the secondary. Heck, they do it with the offensive line. Yes, you want to have your star players. You want to keep your star players, but you need to be able to draft, and you need to be able to develop those star players. And that is the reason the Bengals right now are perfectly fine with keeping T and Jamarr. Because they haven't drafted or developed anybody that you look and say, that's going to be a star. Now, Al Golden could come in here. DJ Turner showed some bright spots. Dax Hill, bright spots. Jordan Howard, bright spots. Those guys could come in here and light it up and want to be a Pro Bowler this year. And all of a sudden, Pro Bowl, yeah, I was trying to think. It's the all pros that the Bengals players aren't allowed to have, according to the NFL. So, Pro Bowl is there. Pro Bowl is an option that can all of a sudden skyrocket their price. Right now, we don't see it. But we could see it if Al Golden gets the best out of these guys. We could see it if they draft some good defensive players that fit his scheme, fit his system. We could see, again, the difference. Remember, when Mike Zimmer was here, Gunther came around. The defensive drop-off. Similar team, but the defensive drop-off. And the difference a coach can make for a defense, especially schematically, especially from, again, youth to veteran, the type of players that fit them best. And for Al Golden, again, coaching all these college kids, giving them a pro style, he's got the ability to coach the young players and develop the young players. He proved that in college. And I think more importantly, this one of the systems that works the best, not to say it's the same system, kind of rhymes a little bit. What the Ravens like employing a lot of the years is like you bring a lot of pressure, you run some man-to-man, and you trust that your pressure is going to get home. That way these guys playing man-to-man don't have to stay in coverage forever, and you force the quarterback to make a mistake. It's worked. It worked against Joe. Remember how many times Joe Burrow was getting demolished early in his career. Even when their secondary is healthy, last season, the exception, Joe Burrow had problems with that Baltimore Ravens defense in a way that jet down the pressures. And if Joe Burrow, king of playing with the pressure in his face, has problems, every other quarterback does too. So I do think if there is something that you can say this Bengals defense can go from last year to next year or this year and instantly improve, it is just pure schematically, because having an emphasis on getting pressure on a quarterback and not dropping 8 and pressuring 3 all the time is game changing. More than anything, if there's anything you can do to help out this secondary, it's get pressure on the quarterback. So I think this is, again, if you're the Bengals, you want to put an emphasis on the draft of drafting a good pass rusher. And that's the thing. I don't think you looked at the free agency and said there was somebody you felt confident in. Sure, there was some guys in there. I guess even Milton Williams, I guess. But sure, there was some guys in it, but you never felt like you just had this game-changing predominant pass rusher in free agency, because teams just don't let that go. Sure, you can get some complimentary pass pieces. Sure, sometimes the Saints make a mistake and let Trey Hendrickson go. But, that's the thing. It is difficult. You have to be able to develop some of those in-house guys, because unless they're over the age of 30, most teams don't let them go. And once they're over the age of 30, maybe they have a great year. Maybe Khalil Mack has 12 sacks this season. Maybe he has 3 because he's getting older. You run that risk. So I think that's the system. The system's perfect if they can go out there, get some good defensive players. I think in free agency, you do need to sign a guard. Get a guard. Make sure Burrow's upright. You don't go anywhere without Joe Burrow. I understand drafting a guard, fill and plug and play in one of the spots, but get a proven solid guard before it's too late in free agency, and make sure your quarterback's staying upright. Because if you can transform this defense into a top 15 defense, I ain't even asking for much more than that. Top 15, and you protect your quarterback instantly, we can talk Super Bowl and possibly a Super Bowl favorite. I like it. Now that I've taken a step back, I like where the Bengals are. Again, you walk into the season with a lot of question marks, but if you go in with the aspect of your organization's trusting and saying, hey, I think without Golden, DJ Turner takes a step forward, Jordan Battle takes a step forward, Miles Murphy takes a step forward, Dax Hill takes a step. And, if you look at that and say, we have all these young guys we invested draft capital in, if we can get what we expected out of them, this defense improves substantially. You do need to worry about the depth. The depth is one thing. If they can get some depth signings in there, sprinkled in to feel a little bit better about things, that would be an improvement. But for the most part, feeling good about it, actually. Maybe it's just the excitement of these contracts. But nonetheless, love y'all's thoughts. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.